135,000 Aucklanders left in just 5 years. That's one Aucklander lost every 19 minutes. That's enough people to empty the entire city of Tauranga. But this isn't new. Kiwis have been moving out of Auckland for 19 years straight, and if that continues, it'll be terrible. Not just because there'll be no Aucklanders left to drink the oat lattes, but because if you own property or you're thinking about buying, you're probably asking yourself, well, what happens to Auckland house prices when everyone leaves? And could the Auckland exodus turn into a major property price crash? So I went looking to see where these 135,000 people actually went. And by the way, I'm not even counting Aucklanders who moved overseas. These are just the people who moved to other parts of New Zealand. About 1 in 4 Aucklanders who leave end up in the Waikato, the single biggest destination by a country mile. That's followed by Canterbury and Northland. And look, I get the appeal. Cheaper houses, less traffic, 15 minutes to work instead of 40, and that's made Tauranga the fastest growing city in the country, and Christchurch is in the middle of a genuine boom. In fact, one of my Auckland-based colleagues is moving to Christchurch, and it's easy to see why. The last few years have been rough on Auckland. House prices are 22% below the peak of the market. That's almost a quarter of your wealth gone if your wealth was tied up in an Auckland house. And houses are still expensive, with the median house price still hovering around that $1 million mark. The traffic is bad, the cost of living is high, so yeah, I can understand why your mates are looking to move to Tauranga, and maybe can see why your friends might want to move to Hamilton. So I get it when Kiwis say it just feels like Auckland isn't worth the squeeze anymore, which is why, as a property investor with 3 houses in Auckland, I needed to know how this exodus could not just impact Auckland house prices, but my own portfolio. And I did what I always do. I went looking at the data just to see how bad it really was. And that's when my mind started to change, because there's a bit more to these numbers which the headlines often miss. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor and hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. That's how I know which videos to do more of. And when I was looking for the numbers, I saw that yes, more Kiwis leave Auckland than other Kiwis moving to Auckland. That's been true for nearly 20 years. But here's what the headlines don't tell you. Over those same 20 years, Auckland's population has grown by 467,000 people. Yes, grown by the size of Wellington. That's a lot of Jaffas. So how does that work when there are more Aucklanders moving to the rest of New Zealand, and this is the direction of travel? 2 words: babies and migration. I know it says overseas, but migration. Auckland is the front door of New Zealand. When the world wants to move here, they typically come to Auckland first. From 2019 to 2025, Auckland lost 8,900 Kiwis a year, going from here into here, but it gained 19,800 people a year from migration. Well, that's a net gain of 11,000 people every single year just from new migrants. So if we think of it like your local rugby club, every year 9 players leave for bigger clubs in other cities. Sounds like the club is dying, right? But if every year 20 new players join from overseas, while the club's not shrinking, it's growing, the faces are just different. Well, that is Auckland. The other thing is that the Kiwi-born population is shrinking slowly, yes, but overall population, it's still growing, and growing faster than the rest of the country. In the year to June 2025, Auckland grew by 1% in terms of its population. The whole of New Zealand grew by 0.7%. And Auckland was tied for the fastest growing region in the country. And this isn't just my read on it. Paul Spoonley, a sociologist at Massey University, said this year that Auckland is still growing because it is the destination for between 50 and 60% of all immigrants. Now, stick with me because this gets even stranger. The exodus itself is slowing down big time. Back in 2018, Auckland lost 16,400 Kiwis to other regions. Last year, it was just 3,200, which is an 80% drop. So when someone tells you that Aucklanders are fleeing, yes, some are, but far fewer than 5 years ago. And it's not only new migrants filling the gap from overseas, the other part is babies. So last year, Auckland had 11,100 more births than deaths. That's the natural increase. They're having a lot of babies in Auckland. And so that is the gap between people being born and people dying. Now, 11,100 net new Aucklanders without a single person stepping off a plane from overseas is a lot of people. Now, compare that to the rest of the country. In Nelson, more people died last year than were being born. So Nelson, Marlborough, and the West Coast, those are the areas where the population is literally dying faster than is being born. And this isn't a one-off. More people have died than been born in Nelson every year since 2023. And here's why this matters for property. A region's population grows from three things: internal migration, more Kiwis moving to that region than leaving; international migration, more people moving to a city from overseas than residents moving offshore; and the natural increase, more babies being born than people dying. The Auckland is dying headlines tend to focus on the first one and ignore the other two completely. So let me put this all together for you. In 2024, Auckland gained 11,000 people from births, lost just over 4,000 people to other regions, and gained 36,000 people from international migration. Add it all up, and Auckland's population grew by 43,000 people. That is 43,000 people in a single year, which is like if everyone in Levin packed up and moved to Auckland and did it twice in the same year. Now, I'm not telling you to rush out and buy an Auckland property tomorrow, but I am telling you that numbers need context. And you can't just blame the journalists for missing that. I mean, newsrooms are shrinking. They've got to pump out articles that get lots of clicks. And a headline that says Auckland is dying, record exodus to Christchurch, that gets a lot more clicks than Auckland's population is still growing just from different people. And that's where you need to understand how your brain works, your noggin. Think about why a smoke alarm going off is so annoying. I mean, it goes off when you burn the toast, it goes off when you have a hot shower. 99% of the time that a smoke alarm goes off in your house, it's a false alarm. But we don't disconnect the smoke alarm because the one time it's right, it'll save your life. And I think your brain works the same way. It sounds the alarm on every scary headline because the one time the threat is real, you really want to know about it. But what happens when you realize the smoke alarm is blaring because of burnt toast and not a burning house? Well, you wave the tea towel, open a window, and you move on. And when it comes to headlines, unfortunately, most people don't have the time or the energy to check it out properly, and so you end up worrying about burnt toast. And let me show you what checking the toast actually looks like, because here's the thing about New Zealand property. Houses in different regions don't all go up in value at the same time because the market isn't perfect. That's why house prices in some regions will speed ahead of others, then peter out a bit. Eventually that makes other regions look a little bit cheap, so investors start buying houses there. That pushes up house prices and you get what we call catch-up growth. Now, if we think about Christchurch house prices stayed flat in the aftermath of the earthquake. It got to the point where for the first time in history, the median house price in Dunedin was higher than in Christchurch. The market was way out of whack. And that's why from 2020 onwards, the great Christchurch catch-up was on. And prices there outpaced the other larger cities. It went from over 20% undervalued in my model to being close to where I think they should be today, because house prices in the Garden City just started catching up and accelerating past a lot of those other areas. Now today, the opportunity looks to be further north. Auckland currently looks about 9.5% below its long-term trend, and the last time Auckland was this far below trend was 2009. What happened next? Well, the next decade was Auckland house prices' best run in around 30 years. So the data isn't telling me that Auckland is dying, it's telling me that Auckland could be undervalued. And it's not just my analysis. Kelvin Davidson, a mate from Cotality, he's the chief property economist there, he said that the improvement in Auckland's housing affordability may set the scene for a pickup in value growth over the medium term. Now, translation, Auckland is looking a bit more affordable than it has in a long time, but it may not last. And I want to be really clear, I'm not telling you to dump your Christchurch property and pile into Auckland. There are genuinely good reasons to invest in Christchurch, and Auckland could underperform for another year or two. That's how property cycles work. But here's what I want you to take away. By the time a region feels safe to buy in, most of the easy money has already been made. The headlines arrive late, the vibes, they arrive late too. The data tends to arrive early. So next time you see Aucklanders dying splashed across the news, now you know to check the toast. And if you want to see which regions I currently rate as the most undervalued in New Zealand, not just Auckland, I've put together this free report. It runs every New Zealand region through the same data crunching I just showed you and my top 3 undervalued areas right now. And when you grab it by scanning the QR code on your screen or clicking the link in the description, you'll also get something I don't put on YouTube, a 9-part series of emails and videos that I recorded from my home office. It's closer to a phone call than a YouTube video, so scan the QR code on your screen, click the link in the description. I'll send you that full report and the other videos over the next 10 days. It's free, and in about 60 seconds, you'll have that first email in your inbox today. And if you want to learn how to actually build a portfolio, watch this video next where I'll show you how I used one house to buy 5 more. Click the video on screen and I'll see you in there.